Good evening to the freedom-loving people of Iran, both here and in Albania. Much has been spoken at this conference about the idea of regime change. Much more has been written about it in the weeks leading up. And what I'd like to do with the few moments I have available with you is take sort of the pragmatic military man approach in conjunction with my good friend George here, and try to answer a couple of very pertinent questions. What does regime change look like, and how do you know that you will be successful? What must you do to be successful? And whether or not that change comes 3 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, those questions will remain the same, and they must be addressed. In order to try to help answer those questions, I want to tell you a short story. In 1979, I was a young Marine captain assigned to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And many of you people were not born in 1979, I accept that, but nevertheless, some of those of you who were remember that was the time of the rebellion against the Shah. And I watched that nightly news every night with great interest in terms of what was going to be the outcome in your country. One night in particular, a newscaster said, "You've got to see this footage. Watch closely what happens here." And the film showed a squad of Iranian soldiers with their rifles sweeping a street of what they would have called dissidents. And at one point, one of the Iranian soldiers corners a young man in a door facing, and he's beating him with the butt of his rifle. Another soldier, maybe from here to the wall, turns, looks around, and shoots him twice in the back. And the soldier in the doorway obviously falls dead. At that point, the reporter comes in and says, "This may be critical. If the army is turning, the Shah cannot last." And you know, he was exactly right. He was exactly right with regard to what happened to the Shah just a few weeks later. He's right historically in terms of what happens when a people begin regime change and the army has to make a decision. Now, Iranian armed forces, you have 125,000 Revolutionary Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, they will not ever support you. They are thugs, murderers, and terrorists. They simply have to be killed or exorcised from your country when you succeed. You have 30,000 in the Air Force, 18,000 in the Navy. They're helpful, but they're not the key. The key to regime change is the Army. 350,000 Iranian soldiers in the Iranian army. Why are they critical? Because those men, many of them inductees, are closest to the people on the street. They are the fathers and the sons and the brothers and the sisters of the people who are dying in the street, and they are most likely to be able to turn and resist supporting the government if they're having to kill their own people. We've seen it happen that way time and again. How will it happen? It can happen with a peaceful demonstration that turns into conflict. The more successful the demonstration, the more likely people are to be shot. What we need to see happen is one general with great courage change. He needs to say, do I support my government or do I support my country? And they're not the same thing. And if this general changes, there will be another one, and another, and another. And the Army can make a difference. The Army has the tanks. They have the numbers. They can control the situation on the ground. So the Army will be critically important to what you do in the future. Now, those countries represented here, to include my own, are also critical to the equation. We cannot do what we did in 2009, which is exhibit a lack of moral courage and an indecision and sit on our hands. Good people died in the streets in 2009, and we did nothing. I honestly think they were that close. I honestly think that the Army was evaluating what should we do. But the lack of support from other nations in America, in Europe, in the Middle East, caused those people to feel very much alone, and in the end, they lost. That cannot happen if those generals are to not risk their troops, not risk their families, not risk themselves. They have to feel like they can be supported and make a good decision for what is good for a free Iran. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish for you that the gods of freedom-loving people everywhere support your efforts. I encourage you, your objective should be the overthrow of those Ayatollahs who have created a dark period in Iranian history. Your objective is the overthrow of the Ayatollahs. Your target, in order to be able to successfully do that, should be the army of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Thank you very much.